Ladies and gentlemen, hello. It's me, Johnny Vedmore, and I'm doing a little piece today just because I can, just because I can. Having a look at something somebody sent me. David Jerome Putnam, who me and him have been in conversation for a few months. He's a nice fella. He interviews a few people, talks about a few things. Very interesting. His content seems to be very within my sphere of interest. Um, and he sent me something that he did with someone who's a mentalist, claimed mentalist, someone who it was going to show him um, something about remote viewing, psychic stuff, etc., etc. At least that's what I thought to start. Now, the guy is who is doing this is obviously a very skilled magician. He uses certain techniques, and I'm sorry to him. I know, I know. I listen, listen. You he studies this, this is his deal, and he's not necessarily deceiving people because he says he's part of doing magic and doing other things later on in the interview. But he does use techniques which are really simple to explain. Techniques of suggestion that, of course, lead you to make decisions. So take away the decision making from the majority of people, because if you use the power of suggestion correctly, hypnosis and other tools, you can make people choose things, the majority of people. Now, some people don't fall for it. Some people are like me. They've had experience in the past and they see it when it happens. It's quite clear. Like, I will explain to you now. And anybody who in the future tries to pull these tricks on you, this base trick, this is a very basic trick. Anybody who tries to pull the tricks on you, you'll be watching for, and in the future, you'll know how they do it. This is why I'm recording this now. It's no smite to the guy who's doing the trick. Very nice. I like it. It works very well as well. It works very well. And um but it's important for us to, a lot of the really high up magicians use a selection of tools, but it's really simple, really simple. um I myself have had people try and use suggestion on me, use tricks, tools. I'm an investigator. If you don't know who I am or don't know what I do, I'm an investigative journalist who looks into intelligence agencies. Everybody from Epstein, Schwab, Kissinger, all of those nefarious sorts. And sometimes I come across a subject which leaves people trying, paid to make me think a certain way or do a certain thing, and they come and they try and make me do that thing. And if you know the tricks, you know how it's happened. Now, some it's more blatant. Last year in 2022, that is, I'm recording this 2023, 2022, or was it end of 2021? Around that. Well, yeah, maybe it was a year and a half ago. I was hypnotized by someone, and they attempted to hypnotize me. I already was in a deep counseling session. Someone who I trusted at the time and I no longer trust at all, um, said that I had to go see this person because of a certain thing. Said, you should go and get counseling. And if they got counseling, that was what the deal was. If they got counseling, I would get counseling too. So it was like a step to say, okay, we can do something together to help both our mental health. If you do something to help yours, I'll do something to help mine. I went first. The other person didn't go at all. It was a lie. Um, and I went to this person, and this person obviously was seemingly paid to fuck up my head, implant something inside my head, which I saw because I wasn't hypnotized. Because in 2006, I think it was, me and a girlfriend at the time really got into Darren Brown. You know, the magician, hypnosis. He was someone who was, really interesting. He was that was his peak of his career as well. He had some really good shows out. And so I started looking into magic tricks and hypnosis, and we actually tried hypnosis. Me and my girlfriend at the time tried some hypnosis, and it got to the point where it was a deepener, and it was working, and she was going. I was doing this. I was trying this out, and it was working. And I shit myself. I was like, "This is too much power for me. I can't handle it. I come out, come out, come out. We gotta come out, come out. Let's not do this. I cannot go through this. It's a real large amount of power to know you have control over someone. And some people like it. Some people love it. Some people, it's all they crave. And some people don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. I feel very uncomfortable. If I was to hypnotize someone, it would feel like I'm in their underwear drawer, and they're watching me, That's what it would feel like. I'd feel, I don't, the mind is a secret, a place full of secrets. And once you go in there and start messing around, especially if you don't know what they're doing. So the, the person who tried to hypnotize me tried to implant something very serious, very sad in my mind, and it made me cry. And they realized I wasn't hypnotized and tried to pretend they were getting me out of it. But that ended our relationship, that's for sure. Um, and I should have known. I should have known. Anyway, enough about me. My experience is base. I'm still not an expert when it comes to these things, but I can note it. When someone's trying to trick me or someone's trying to suggest something to me, I tend to go the other way than what they're suggesting. I'm one of the very small 5-10% who understand the power of suggestion and are really awkward for these type of magicians. And then there's like a 30%, like a third of people, roughly a third of people who will always go for the central middle ground, will just select the thing in front of them because they're scared to make decisions. And then there's a majority of people, and magicians and hypnotists and people who work upon suggestion are looking for those people. They're looking for the 60-70% of people, say 60% of people who are whose mind is pliable, malleable, whatever you'd like to say, and they can put the type of suggestion in your mind. So I'm going to share this clip, and I'm going to show you something that he does, a little trick that he does. And like I say, I'm sorry to the guy for this. I don't mean to. It's such a good way to explain this sort of stuff. And here he is. He's probably a very nice chap. He's going to use various methods to make you believe, or make David here believe that he is in control himself, that he's choosing these things himself, but he's going to use methods to make him make the decision. And I'm gonna suggest what those methods are. Suggest what those methods are. Now, this is me analyzing someone else's work. Okay. Yes, this is subjective, but I'm pretty positive that you will see how obvious it is once I have shown you. Okay. Once I have shown you. So let's start off, shall we?
I think you are interested in the field of telepathy, of mind reading, and we might talk a little bit about this subject as well.
So I'm glad it says at the beginning he's a magician and a mentalist. And like I say, I'm very sorry to him for taking the advantage here. He's already What he's doing here is like every single part of a words, every single part of a magician's skit, their bit is important. It's not just the process you go through. You don't realize that before there's a selections of words that happen. So when you see David Blaine or Darren Brown or any of those doing public stuff, what you haven't seen is the stuff that they say beforehand, because often they're just walking up to people. It looks like they're just walking up, but they've already talked to people. Now it's making you believe something because that's what your eyes and ears tell you. That's what they work upon. Already, it's very interesting where his hand is shaped. That's all. I know that sounds like nothing at the moment, but you'll see what I
and
mean.
I'm sure you know all the science and
So this is in incorporating words into something. So talking about this stuff, and I'm sure you know all of the science. Now, science takes you away from magic, takes you away from suggestions, because science is based, yes, upon theory, but the theories that can be proved. You go through a scientific theory to get to the science, don't you? And so science is much more a confirmed usage of words. You know that this is true. Now, he has to give an element of that because remember, he has to suggest to you that this is true, that this is really happening, that this has really happened. Because otherwise, he's not a very good magician and he's not a very good mentalist. Very slow, very calm in the way he speaks. I like it.
the science and the questions about remote viewing and the scientific exploration on
So remote viewing, of course, that's something where you're saying, you know the science of remote viewing, you know this. So you know there's a science behind it. Now, remote viewing is something that people really want to believe in, but every time you bring science, actual scientific theory, and you analyze it and you put it under controlled, you put uh, uh, controls into experiments, then what you find is that suddenly no one can do remote viewing anymore because those controls within an experiment really do stop the experiment from being a magic trick.
telepathy. And the first scientific experiments about telepathy were in the 1940s. This guy called Dr. Joseph P. Ryan, and he
Oh.
conducted scientific experiments with thousands of people with 5 symbols. And I'm
So he's going to use, he's going to show you this experiment. Now, this experiment would have had different results. And look, he's got a load of different control mechanisms in place. He's got a board so you can't see his face. He's covering up his own cards really well. But there's someone to the side. Whether that person to the side has come with that woman, I mean, they look like I would say they've got same sort of hairline and different noses. So maybe they're sisters. They got same sort of jawline as well. They look like they may be sisters, but still, you don't know what the actual results were of this picture, but you can see that this is the thing. Look, there's a square, a circle, a cross, a wavy line, and a star. And this woman has 5 cards in front of them, so she's obviously guessing which one's which. What we don't hear, what he said to her, and what we don't see what the results are. But what this does is allow this mentalist now to say to you, look at this thing that was done before, and it's got some sort of history behind it that goes back, what, 80, 90 years. And of course, that will interest a lot of people. 80 years plus of history means a lot of history. There must be something in there.
sure you
Oh
know these
yeah.
symbols. Yeah, yeah. So they're called like ESP symbols, and he
Okay.
did with thousands of people, not
Now you know you're dealing with a magician when he holds up the cards like this. He's got 5 cards there. So, remote viewing, of course, you're going to guess what's underneath the cards just by using your mind on, which cards are which. But this isn't going to be remote viewing. This is going to be a magic trick where he uses suggestion. Like I say, I like the guy. Really sorry to him to do this. Really sorry for
normally
him to
just
do
2 people, one receiver and one sender. We will
There you go.
try a little bit differently. I have here a camera on top as well. So you can see now.
Right. Okay. So would that have been necessarily involved in the um controls in this experiment.
How the symbols as well
An
here.
above
Okay.
camera.
Wow, this looks great.
And
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
I will just place them like this, and I have a
Okay, so we're about to play the game, yeah? And he's gonna offer David to put down cards where he thinks the matching card will be. So, in essence, to psychically work out the card and guess which card it is. Yeah. Now, if he fails in this, yeah, I mean, you could just say, "Oh well, it's remote viewing. It doesn't all work out because of you, because of what you're doing, because of the way you're doing it. You're obviously doing it wrong, or you're incapable of remote viewing. You know, these things are natural conclusions you would come to, aren't they? But look. He is going to suggest to you things. So here we go.
again 5 other symbol cards, the same cards actually.
Mhm.
Now, just look into my eyes because
So the look into my eyes line, okay. Loads of people do it in different ways to get someone's attention, to break into their mind. Loads of people do things in different way. You could say this, one of the subtle techniques, much more subtle techniques, is to get them to look into your eyes, and at the same time they're looking in your eyes, you suggest to them, and you've only got a couple of ways to suggest. There's only a couple of things. Either you suggest with your voice, or you suggest that so the way the person can see your suggestion, maybe with your hands or something. Now, look at the way and imagine you are sitting in front of a camera. Now, hold your hands like he's currently holding his hands. And it suggests to you a square. It looks like he's got a bit of a right angle. I know it seems like a loose start, but there's more. There's more. But the power of suggestion is a load of little things that you might not notice, that you won't initially see. But if he wanted you to choose a circle, maybe he'd sit there and he'd have his hands together in a circle, or maybe he'd cross them if he wanted you to choose a cross. Maybe he would suggest revolution or waves or Jesus or Christ if he wanted you to choose one of those symbols, you know? Maybe he'd choose that. This, hold up your hand so that you get it into being like he's got it, and you end up in a square. You end up with a square with both your hands, square or a rectangle, one of the two. So what's
I
next?
will try now.
See, this is look into my eyes, and then he's closed his eyes. So now you're no longer looking in his eyes, you're looking at him, and what's he doing? Well, he could be making the shape of a square, could be.
I'll try
Okay.
to send you one of these symbols.
So now he's chosen the one he wants you to choose to pick, yeah. And he said, "I'm going to try and send you one of these symbols, and then watch what he does with this card." Now, if he was to put it on the far right or the far left, then I would suggest people would choose either a star or a circle. If he was to put it underneath the cross, people would choose a cross. If he was to put it underneath the wave, people would choose a wave. If he was to put it underneath and then point at that thing while telling you, saying words to you that can suggest things to you, then you will choose that.
Let's see if you can
Let's see.
try to
Let's
guess which.
see. So you see what he did there straight away. Let's see. Let's see. Now, what do you see there? The reason why this works really well in a digital world is because of the overhead camera allows you to be suggested to. So he has the two fingers on the cards and he's going to point them initially at the square. Then he'll hover over and then he'll go back and point at the square again. And then he's going to give you a reason why not to choose the one that people usually get wrong if they don't choose the square, to stop you from choosing that.
You can try to guess which symbol
That's
this is.
so.
What do you
There you
think?
go. Right.
See if you can
Look at the
try to
double jump.
guess
Bop,
which
bop.
symbol this is. This is. What do you
The
think?
initial point.
Let's see if
Initial
you
point
can
1,
try to
2,
guess
2,
which
3.
symbol this is. What do you think?
So initially he points 1 and then quick succession 2, 3 at the square while saying, let's see if you can guess what this can be. He points 3 times. 3 is a magic number, we all know. Then he waves, hovers down the rest of them to look like he's not doing that, and then he goes back to the square.
Normally, just let me tell you, normally,
Because he has to wave in front of the waves, this is what comes next.
when I ask people the first time, 30% of all people will go to the wavy line. So what do you think? What do you think it is?
So here you go. There you go. 30% of people will go with the wavy line. If you tell people that, they're less likely to go with the wavy line because the sentence sounds like they got it wrong. 30% of people go with the wavy line. Those 30% are noted for a reason. Usually wants to drive you away. And anyway, if you're an alternative media, alternative attitude, you've got a different way of viewing things, then that's something else. But when he comes down,
so what do you think? What do you think it is?
He's hovering under for about 3 seconds. What do you think it is? What do you think it is? He's hovering under the square. He's pointing, literally using the card to point at the square over and over again. He's currently pointed at it about 7 times, and he's hovered a little bit over the wavy lines, but told you 30% think the wavy lines, which spotting it out makes you move away from it. So I don't think he's going to choose the circle, cross, or star, of course, because he's had a massive suggestion. If you take it in a micro period of time, like if you look at the micro scale of what was happened, that if that all you had was the 10-20 seconds he's been doing this part for so far, then he would have pointed at the square 6 times, at the waves once, and hovered over the rest, and not mentioned the star. So that all suggests he wants you to choose one card in particular.
I don't think it's the wave, no.
No.
The rectangle or the
Rectangle?
square, yeah.
Right.
Square, are you sure?
David, that doesn't even look like a rectangle. You've been squinting your eyes again, haven't you? No, indeed. He went with the square. He felt the square. He's being honest. He's doing. I mean, you'd be very on this one. While I was watching this the first time, I said, "Circle." Because I always do the thing that will cause them trouble at the end because I can't help it. I can't help it. So my thought was he didn't want you to choose a star as a circle. So let's choose a circle. So he's chosen the first one, he's put it down, and that is in front of the square. Very nicely done. I promise you, under that card is a square. He told him to choose it. He suggested to him by pointing it over 5-6 times, and he gave other tools for the mind, whether it's subliminal or whether it's been taken in properly, to say, don't choose this one, choose this one. And to say not to choose that one over there, this is going to happen again now. Now, the next one I'm going to say straight out, the next one he's going to want you to choose is the star. So watch for the methods of him getting to use the star. Like I say, both visual and both with his words. So he'll do his visual symbolizing. He has to be careful because he can't make it too overt. So he can still hover around, get close to one or two of the other, but he will say stuff. And now with his voice, what will he do? Well, he try and keep you away from going anywhere on the left. So think about that. He wants to point you towards a star, and he wants to tell you not to go left. Those are the two things he needs to currently do in that trick to make you pick the star. Those are the two things. Look for them.
Yeah.
So let's check. You did quite well. David, great. Great, you have a good intuition.
But maybe you
Uh,
I don't
maybe something else. Go on,
I
maybe.
don't know how you did it. Yeah.
I
Is
don't
this
know how
really
you did it,
telepathy?
but you know he did
Let's try.
it. You know he did it. Now, here you go. Let's try this. You've already chosen the square. So pointing, covering the square, and keeping it over here is leaning towards the star for the next
The
Okay,
one.
the
other one.
next one.
Look at this. Look at this.
Normally,
Look
the
at this.
next one,
How
people
many
will
times you
go
going to
to the
point?
left.
Look. This is funny though. I like it. So he hovers over. There you go. He hovers over the square, but then he points one, then two. Yeah, you see it. You see it now. Let's watch that again.
Let's try the
Okay,
other
the
one.
next one.
Normally the
I
next one, people will go to the left, just to the left of the square. But
yeah,
you're completely free. What do you think?
yeah, I want to go to the star. Now I feel like
You want to go to the star?
So normally people want to go to the left, but, and that word but means a lot in our language, mais en français. That means a lot in our language, but we always see it as a negative. Oh, yes, you can, but there's an exception. There's an exception. So, but means an exception. So he says, most people go to the left, but you are free. But you're different. But the exception is you. But you are special. But you in your brain must feel special. But you are being manipulated because he's pointing at the star. Look at this, right? So how many times does he point at the star and listen to what he says?
I don't know how you did it. Yeah. Is this really telepathy?
But he did do it.
Let's try the
Okay,
other
the
one.
next one.
Normally the
I
next one, people will go to the left, just to the left of the square. But you're
yeah,
completely free. What do you think?
yeah, I want to
Completely
go
free.
to the star. Now I feel like
You want to go to the star?
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Okay, 100%. Okay, let's see.
Okay.
What's the
So,
next
right.
one?
We know I know that, my friends, is a star under there that he's just put down. He was completely free to not go to the left, completely free to look at where he was being pointed at over and over, which was the star. Now, that was very important. Those two were the most important. Why are they the most important? Because what's the probability that you're going to get 1 in 5 right in the correct order? You know, there's a probability of, say, 5 times 5 times 5 or whatever. You know, as soon as you start messing with that sort of probability ratio, well, the first one, if you just get one of these right, then it's probability that you might get one. You know, if you get two, then it's above probability. It's like £2 in a lottery or something. You know, you're a winner. If you get 3 right, God, then think about it. It's like winning £1,000 on the lottery. What's the chances of that? You know, you can't do that by luck. That gets really hard. If you could do that, then you know, this, like, why do you think there's 5, 6 traps, 7 traps in greyhound racing? You know, it's like you keep the probabilities, you do the math, and you work out which orders things are going to come in. It's very hard to predict the orders. You know, there's a certain amount of a chance involved in this, and if you've got you can't get 4 wrong. I don't think. Can you? You can only get 3 wrong and 5 wrong. If you've got the 4th wrong, then you've got 2 wrong. If you get what I mean. So basically, if he gets 3 right, on the 4th and 5th, you've got 50-50 chance. You can either get it both wrong or both right. So the last ones, if you're left with the correct ones, or if you got 2 left, then you can either get them both wrong or both right. You can't get, if one's wrong, then the other one will be wrong too, is what I'm saying. So probability wise, that no longer matters. But 5, the first 2 are really important. Get the first 2 right, and then it narrows down the amount of persuasion you've got to put in for the next parts. But he's now got to make him choose a cross. How does he do that?
What's the next one? I'm sure you will make the right decision and left the other cards. No, don't let
Yeah.
me influence you. You're completely free. Just look into my eyes and decide now. What do you think?
Decide now. There you go. There you
The
go. Right.
cross.
Okay.
The cards.
So
No,
at
don't
that
Yeah.
let me
point,
influence you. You're
he's
completely free.
saying
Just look into
you
my
don't want
eyes
influence. You're
and
completely free. And then he says, look into my eyes and decide
decide now. What do you think?
now. Now, wave it across. He's got a little bit. You see that little smile he had on his face. That's he's got a bit of duper's delight because he knows he's duping him. Here
Decide
you go.
now.
Watch
What do you
us
think?
smile. Eh. He knows what he's done. He's like, will he call me out? Will he notice? He's surely gonna notice. Can we watch that smile again? He knows. He
Decide
knows.
now. What do you think?
Now, decide now. What do you think? Hover in front of the
The
cross.
cross.
Yes, of course. Of course, you're gonna choose.
And now
He
the
loves
wave.
it.
We have two left. We have two left. Do you want to
You
place them
looked
like
into the
this, or
cards.
do you want to change?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he
You
looked
want
at
to
the
place them
card,
like
so he
this,
knows the right
Like
way.
this,
or
yeah.
do you want
So he
Good.
can tell
No,
you.
no,
like
the other.
this?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let me give.
Do you want to do like this, or do you want to change? Do you want to do like this? And then what you don't see when it points away is him pointing at the cards, or do you want to change? And it's a very quick motion and then back again. Makes you want to choose the one that's been pointed first. The point is a really important part of suggestion. That's the visual, that's a way to make your mind look at something visually. So the point, the first one, let's watch it again. This is harder to see because it cuts backwards and forwards on a couple of
You
times.
want to change?
Uh-huh.
You want to place them like this?
Now,
And now the
Okay,
wave.
we have two
he
left.
looks.
We
He
have
knows
two
he
left.
looks.
Do you want to
You
place them
looked
like
into the
this, or
cards.
do
There
you
you
want
go.
to
So,
change?
Uh-huh.
Do you want to
You
place them
looked
like
into the
this, or
cards.
do you want to
boom, boom,
change?
or
Uh-huh.
do you want to
You
change?
want to place them like this,
Like this,
or
yeah.
do you want
It's
And
good.
then,
No, no,
like
the other.
this?
do you
Yeah.
want to
Mm-hmm.
place like this, and then he's
So
bouncing
let me give
again,
you
and
5
he's holding it.
seconds. You can decide to place them like this, or you can change. I mean, you're completely free, maybe.
This.
Well, like
Yeah, that's
this.
good.
Okay, you made random decisions or intuitive
You made
decisions.
random
I was trying to
decisions.
send you these symbols, and let me tell you, you are a good receiver, David.
You are a good receiver,
You
Dave.
made the
Wow.
right.
What?
Unbelievable.
He's very good. He's very good. He's very good. I don't want to. Oh man, I'm not in no magic circle. I'm in no magic circle, so I can get away with this. He did very well. Okay, he pointed at the square loads and loads and loads of times. He pointed at the star loads of times. He made the cross obvious, and then in the last one, we didn't see a couple of times where he's just holding there and he's pushing along. So, he does give the opportunity to change, but then uses tools, audio tools, to make sure that it seems like the wrong option. And suggestion, these type of guys doing suggestion, it's very, there he is, Arthur Rocha. Listen, he's very good. I don't want to take away from him. I don't want to take away from him and what he's done, because I mean, really, that was pretty neato. He did have him. He had him good. David, you got done. David Jerome Putnam, you got done. You got done by the guy. He managed to slip it in your brain proper. Now, I don't want to, I like magic, but what we see nowadays is the mainstream media using these techniques and tricks to stick things in your mind. And once you've seen them, they can't do it. It ruins you. Like learning what a fallacy is ruins a lie for people. They can't tell you a lie if it's built upon a fallacy, if you can recognize the fallacy. So using a tool to note and be able to understand how someone is putting a suggestion in your mind, that is really important. It's really important to have that sort of skill, to notice something. Now, this is very simplistic. Okay, I'm sure he does better tricks than this, yeah, and I'm sure there's more than just me who understands the process that he's going through and how he's doing it. And I'm sorry to him for making this video, but I can help it. David said to me, "Oh, have a look at this," and I was like, "Yeah, but you know how he did that, though." And he was like, "No, how did he do that?" And I was like, "Well, I should make a video, maybe, explain it to more than just you, because I like it. I like it. It's pretty easy. the majority. Now, if he had failed on the last one, then as within remote viewing, the idea that David got 3 right, even though he didn't get the last 2 right, means that it's pretty impressive, because those are the least probable to get right, because you've got more of a selection, and the last 2 become a 50-50 chance. Either you're right or you're wrong. Both cards are right or both cards are wrong. So it was very clever. But did you notice how the last one, it became different than the rest? The last one is that, oh, you choose which way you want it round, rather than one at a time, because one at a time, then it would be maybe too obvious in a row. It's nice to break it up, that you use 2 so they don't notice. Still, power suggestion, little bit of I'd say, like verbally, both tone of voice and the words used, the phrasing of the words used was like a little bit of, it was suggestion hypnosis, trying to put things in your mind. And you should be able to note these things. I feel really bad for magicians nowadays, because they have ended up becoming to do roughly the same thing that the worst people in society are doing, the intelligence agents and the mainstream media and all of this, which is trying to trick you into making a decision you don't want to make, or a decision in a magician's case, making you make the decision they want you to make, and intelligence and mainstream media and establishment ways making you make the decision they want you to make. You see, that's the similarity. They are both use the same techniques, and this is why the MSM, in a sense, is indistinguishable from magic, like modern enough technology. But I mean it in a different. It's not indistinguishable from magic, because you can recognize it if you know it. It's indistinguishable from the tricks. The tricks they use are indistinguishable from each other. Magicians and MSM, they use the same trick. Still, I like that guy. I'm very sorry that it had to be him, but I'm sure that he doesn't really care, because his fans are going to watch his stuff and aren't going to necessarily care about my stuff. So I hope none of the people who are impressed by him that much come and find me naysaying magicians or magic. And I'm not. I like it. The problem is that I studied it a little bit to understand it, so I couldn't get tricked, and now it's hard. There's some brilliant tools. I used to one of the tools, one of my favorite tools back in the day, especially that I'm a smoker. Back in the day, I used to smoke cigarettes, and I had this thing. It was such a clever piece of kit. Oh, so unbelievably clever. It causes a brain ache for people. I mean, it just really was astounding. But it was a little circular thing that you could put a cigarette in. So it's like enclosed, puts the cigarette out because it's got no oxygen really. But as puts a rollie out or something like that, but a cigarette is stay lit, but it won't burn you. And it's attached to a piece of elastic, and that elastic has a safety pin on the end, and the safety pin was attached to the inside of my suit jacket. And I used to work in hotels, so drunk people always causing trouble in the night. If you can make them go, "What the hell?" then suddenly you make them your friend, and then they'll go to bed. That's it, or they'll behave in front of you at least. And I was always, working in hotels in the nighttime, you have to make people behave themselves. You don't want people not to have a good time, and you don't want people to walk away thinking you're a mini Hitler. So you have to get them to behave themselves, but in a nice way, in a way that is fun. So it was a good jovial way. But it meant that basically, it was attached to the inside, so I'd feed it through my arm, and I'd be able to say, "Go on, give me a cigarette," and I'd be moving my hands around like this, and you wouldn't see that it's in my hand as I'm talking. And they'd give me a lit cigarette, and I'd put it in my hand. I'd go like this, and I go like that, and it's gone. It's not on the floor anywhere. It's just gone. But it's as I've gone like this, it shoots the elastic, shoots it up, and it's dangling right on the back of my back. So then when I'm talking to them, they're looking at my hand over here. I can come in on the other side and take it out and start smoking it again, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, like what just happened?" But it's a real simple trick. It's just like a brilliant tool for breaking ice and for causing people's brain to go mental, because no one's expecting you to have a tool like that. No one's expecting. They expect that to be a complicated thing, not a piece of string with a safety pin and a little thing on it. But magic is that simple. The suggestion is that simple. Hypnosis can be that simple. You tell people things in a certain way, in a certain tone of voice, in a certain order, and they get it on certain levels. Now we do that when we're teaching people or when we're explaining things to people. It's a different level of it when you're getting into the deep dark of people's minds. It's a completely different level of it. So I enjoyed that. And I hope I mean, that's good mentaling. You wouldn't catch me out, but that's not fair, because I've looked into it and I got obsessed about it for a bit and then decided it was way too scary for me. Anyway, support me work. I got Searching for Stanley coming out over Christmas. Woo, first episode's out already. Martin Luther King Jr. episode. That's one that where intelligence agencies as well, they can make you think a bullet's been fired from over there by that guy, and it hasn't been. So there's there's very many similarities, and we all know about JFK and the magic bullet theory. I mean, magic. There's a lot of that in my work, and so I notice these things. Anyway, see you later.
Young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets.